For several years now, our Unitarian Universalist Association has been working collaboratively, that's a big word, with all our congregations on revising Article 2 of our UUA bylaws, which are our faith's principles and purposes. The draft form was ratified at last year's General Assembly and will be voted on in June this year at our virtual General Assembly. And any final revisions to Article 2 need to be presented to the UUA board by the end of this month, with 15 congregations agreeing on any proposed revisions. So we are approaching our final iteration. And this newly articulated language identifies ways in which we as UUs can clearly live out our vision of love in action through a set of values and covenants that have been identified as vital in our 21st century world. These values and covenants are forward-looking and aspirational. They're not necessarily a definitive statement of who we are as Unitarian Universalists now or historically, but rather their purpose is to call us into qualities that are most needed from us as spiritual people in the 21st century. And these values are reflected in this beautiful flower graphic, and they put love at the center. The language that puts love at the center is as follows. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant, congregation to congregation and through our association, to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values, they write. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. The spiritual discipline of love. Now, as you can see, these values are, in no particular order, generosity, interdependence, justice, equity, pluralism, and transformation. And we've been exploring these values in our worship themes every month. And these values and their associated covenants call us into being the best versions of ourselves and our communities. And they offer us clear direction for how to live into them, all emanating from this center of love. And in case you didn't get a bookmark with our new values back in October, you can get one as you exit the sanctuary. I believe we still have them there, right, Sharon? So I'm happy to hand those out as you exit the sanctuary later if you don't have one yet. Has love at the center on one side and then those values on the other side with a little explanation. And the Article 2 Study Commission summarizes them all, saying, we come from many paths, but we all put love at the center. But what does it truly mean to be centered around love? Well, in a moment, you're going to get to hear from our member, Melanie Bowe, and her lived experience of love at the center of it all. The Reverend Cameron Trimble says, congregations at their best are schools for love, places where we can be with others who make us more compassionate, generous, peace-filled, and kind. I think we do that here, don't you? At least we strive to do that. I know I'm impacted by all of you. To me, being centered around love involves putting everything we do and say through the lens of love. And it's not a sentimental or romantic love, but it's a fierce, committed love that calls us to create a better world, to take care of one another, of our community and our planet. It's a love that says all people have inherent worth and dignity, no matter their nation, their race, their gender, their sexual orientation, or their creed. It's a love that binds us all together in interconnection and interdependence. dependence. A love that honors our pluralism, reminding us we need not think alike to love alike. A love that encourages us to work for justice and equity for all. A love that inspires us to be generous. A love that calls us to be the highest versions of ourselves and work towards inner and outer transformation. Can I hear an amen? My friends, like we sing in our hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us, which we'll sing at the end of our service together today, we need to ask ourselves constantly, what does love ask of me now? What would love do? How does love guide me in this situation? Keep coming back to those questions. So I invite us now to hear from Melanie, who came to me last year to share her understanding of the love that is within and among all of us. And I thought it would be a gift if she could share her experience with all of you too. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you. Well, I'm Melanie Bowe. My pronouns are she and her. And I was really nervous about doing this today. And then we got sparkles. And that just lightened everything. So in 2019, I suddenly became ill, and it turned my whole life upside down. Becoming disabled drastically changed the way I participated in life. I spent most of my time working to be well, fighting to survive, working to regain my quality of life. Physically, my body changed from strong and virulent to weak and failing. Forced to spend the majority of my time in a horizontal position because of pain and weakness. Psychologically, this was devastating. I went from a high-functioning RN, caring for others for over 40 years, to having to be cared for, having to ask and accept for help, feeling very vulnerable, yet forced to trust others. I would often go to a dark place. Questions would come up. Why am I still here? How much more can one person take? Yet looking back, I now see the struggle as a kind of blessing. It allowed me the time to notice the loving energy flowing through me, flowing through me, the loving energy that kept me fighting towards health, fighting to regain my quality of life, fighting to survive. I had a sense that love flowed through me. I've always had a sense that love flowed through me, but never thought much about it because, like everybody else, I was busy raising a family, growing my professional career, and essentially surviving. That I paid it little heed. So while I was physically healing, I took the time to start simply noticing, as I recalled times in my life when I knew there was something that flowed through me, connecting me to others and all things. The loving connection I felt when holding my newborn sons and watching them grow. The connection a gentle touch or a therapeutic conversation with a patient would elicit. The intense, cohesive energy in a room of a patient struggling to live and the healthcare professionals diligently working to help that person succeed, to live, to love. I remembered, while working in an ICU, having to remove a 15-month-old from a ventilator because she was deemed brain dead with no chance of survival. As she died, The energy in the room became so intense that the nurse assisting me and I suddenly started weeping so profoundly, I thought I too would dissolve into the loving energy that filled the room. At the time, I thought it was grief. But now thinking back, I remember it as the release of her spirit of life and love filling the room so profoundly that it flowed through us as painful yet joyous, pure loving energy, causing us to weep. This loving connection continued as I carried her still warm, wrapped body to the morgue. And I feel that her loving energy is still with me now. This memory helped me understand that I became aware of the spirit of life and love during my near-death experiences at a very young age. The sense of my spirit rising, dissolving into the purest divine energy, dispersing loving energy into something timeless and indescribable. The words, there's no words to describe it. This sensing, and then after experiencing this, and then sensing it was not my time, that my loving energy was still needed here, I awakened back in this life, desperately wanting to be in that peace again, but sensing that it would always be in me. That peaceful, loving energy has kept me alive, flowing through me, contributing love to the world. Once I started noticing and remembering, I realized that my experiences helped me understand that what I understand as the spirit of life and love is simple. Not easy, because the words to describe how I experience it are not in our vocabulary. Love, joy, hope, sadness, anger, those are all emotions. And the spirit of life and love, I sense, is not an emotion. Though they are connected, it's much more profound. Words like heavenly, celestial, supernal, all imply something tangible or a destination. I sense it as an intangible flow of loving energy, an energy that flows through all things, connecting, uplifting, celebrating, blocked only by making it complicated, by constructing cognitive, emotional, psychological, physical, and religious barriers to its flow. This realization was freeing to me, that simply noticing the flow of loving energy is enough. Letting it be whatever it will be, and knowing it will be full of goodness and grace. With this realization, I also noticed a more prevalent aversion to religion growing in me. One would think that a spiritual awakening would drive me to seek more knowledge about the experiences of spiritual teachers, but instead, I felt a strong aversion to it. I felt afraid and irritated that the religious and spiritual teachings would taint the pure simplicity of the spirit of life and love I experience. This reaction seemed strange and crazy and caused me to think I was in some type of spiritual crisis, or it caused me to think I may be becoming spiritually narcissistic. I tried to let the irritation go while listening to a friend telling me about what she is learning in an evangelical Christian chaplaincy school, to be open to how others are being told to understand God. But my whole being was repelling the knowledge. So, who do you call when you're in spiritual crisis? Reverend Nica. During our meeting, she listened attentively, patiently, and lovingly. Then she validated how I sensed the spirit of life and love and assured me I was not crazy, and nothing I said sounded narcissistic. What a relief. Then, surprisingly, she asked if I would like to share my experience, which is how I came to be standing before you now. This spiritual awareness is changing how I experience my daily life and interact with the world. Now, when I experience the physical and emotional pain, strife, and joys that are a part of life, I open myself to noticing the spirit of life and love flowing through me, and it seems the pain eases, and hope and gratitude grows. I also notice the loving flow of energy when I interact with others. I feel a heightened sense of connection and am more engaged. But I also notice when there are disruptions or barriers to the flow of loving energy, and wonder why. Will changing my interactions, thoughts, or approach alter those barriers and improve the flow of loving energy between us? Although it's not easy, I have found it does. For example, with my evangelical friend, I've learned to attentively listen to her explain how one should come to know God, all the while noticing the energy of the spirit of life and love ebbing and flowing between us. She will often say, despite our differences, how connected she feels to me, and I will gently respond, I sense we are connected. Though my current condition limits me from doing big things, my hope is through a kind act, a gentle touch or smile, a loving word, or by spreading little seeds of kind deeds, I encourage others to notice and to encourage the continuous flow of the spirit of life and love. I hope sharing my experience encourages you to simply notice a loving energy flowing through you, connecting you, strengthening you, and let it be so.
Melanie, thank you so much for sharing your spiritual teachings with us. Let's lift up her teachings as we sing one time through Spirit of Life. You can stay seated. My friends, can you feel the spirit of life and love flowing among us, flowing inside us, connecting us all? May we let the spirit of love and life flow through us freely. And may we keep love as our North Star and continue to move towards it always. And may we keep asking ourselves, what does love ask of me now? What would love do? And how does love guide me? All the while relaxing and letting the spirit of love and life flow through us. May it be so. Please rise in body or spirit now to sing our closing hymn, Love Will Guide Us. Love will guide us, peace will stride us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from creed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. Please remain standing and touch your elbows or put your arm around someone if you feel comfortable. Our closing words are by Ferrake Gillis. May the love that overcomes all differences, that heals all wounds, that puts to flight all fears, that reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us, now and always. May it be so. Please be seated.
Okay, it's that time. A couple of announcements. Very important. Today at 11:30 a.m., we are holding our mid-year congregational meeting, both live and on Zoom. We will hear from the site visioning team and other leaders and elect a new member to the Leadership Cultivation Committee. Please grab your coffee or tea or water and come right back into the sanctuary. If you are online, please stay in this Zoom room and you can join us. Also, please join us for our next online community forum this Friday, February 2nd at 7 p.m. for ranked choice voting. Upgrading our elections in Ventura County with Paul Copley, Ventura County Coordinator for the California RCV Coalition. Come here and hear how RCV works and could help us depolarize, diversify, and decrease costs. The registration link is in news and notes, and it is also in your chat box.
So please join us now in extinguishing our chalices. We extinguish
This flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts, together again.
My beloveds, I invite us to go in peace and go putting the spirit of life and love which flows through us and everything at the center of our lives. May it be so. Yes. See you back in this room at 11:30.
Yep.